Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Despite no undisputed showdown penciled in as yet between unified champion Anthony Joshua and WBC champion Tyson Fury, Joshua has been bringing in top German fighters to help prepare him for an eventual Fury clash. So he's brought in the German heavyweight champion Peter Kadiru and also the top amateur Emmanuel Odiase. So we'll quickly talk about those two, a little bit about them, and then on to a few thoughts about the preparation for that Fury fight and why these two guys are here. And I think there could actually be a third big German heavyweight that will be brought in to help with the preparations. But it'll be interesting to see when this fight will get made. We won't so much get into that, but obviously in lieu of no date, Joshua is just basically getting in some work, some rounds, and he knows what he wants to do and prepare for. So in terms of Peter Kadiru, so he's 6'4", the German champion, 10-0 at the moment. This is a good choice in the sense that Kadiru, very technical fighter. So he might not be as big as Tyson Fury, but he is a guy that does have very good technical ability. And his career so far, for those who haven't really seen much of him, he can almost, I guess the comparisons to Fury in terms of Fury's earlier career, where he relies on the jab, basically being a technician and grinding out decisions through a skill set. That is Kadiru all over, and sometimes you feel like he could put you to sleep when I have watched him. But he is actually a very talented fighter on the back of his skills. That'll take him a long way. Not a massive sort of knockout puncher, but he's got very good timing. He also is very good on the counter, but in particular, good footwork and a good mover. And that is also the skill set that Emmanuel Odiase, an amateur, he brings to the table here for the sparring. So he's 6'7", and you can see here in the shot with Joshua, he is a bit taller, but he is a very good rangy, technical fighter. He was brought in actually for the Deontay Wilder rematch with Tyson Fury. So he sparred Wilder in the lead up to that, and I did actually post a picture on Twitter about some of this, and had a few people saying, oh, look how that turned out. But just because you get in good sparring doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to win a fight. And it doesn't mean this for Joshua either, or for Tyson Fury, whoever he brings in to prepare for Joshua. But Odiase, very light on his feet, good mover. And you can see here from this clip that was from the Deontay Wilder training camp, the sort of lead up in 2020, etc. You have Odiase working with Malik Scott. So he is a top talent to watch out for. So I like the addition of these two for sparring for Joshua, because I think these are some logical guys that you would want to bring in to prepare for Fury. And it's never going to be a like-for-like situation. I mean, how many guys that are 6'9" move like Tyson Fury and have that same skill set? Not many. So you have to bring in guys that have, a similar skill set, but can also mimic some of what Fury does. And I think in these two guys, Odiase and also Peter Kadiru, he can get some of that. But obviously, he's not just going to have these sorts of fighters to help prepare him for Fury. Remembering Fury also had a very different strategy in the rematch against Deontay Wilder. He was come forward, letting his hands go, very aggressive, different from what we've seen in earlier fights, including the first Wilder fight. So I think there will be a mixture of guys that Joshua will be bringing in, and we've seen that before from Joshua. He uses some guys that are part of the Team GB setup, but also he brings in a whole raft of fighters, not just one sort of fighter. So he's going to get a number of different looks from different fighters as he prepares for Fury, for whenever that fight eventually happens. And if it gets pushed out because they're talking sort of June, I mean, it'll just be, he'll probably bring in the likes of Emmanuel Odiase and Peter Kadiru again. Bearing in mind, it's not the first time he's worked with Peter Kadiru. Kadiru actually sparred with him in the lead up to that fight with Kubrat Pulev, and he's been in camp for prior to that as well. So Kadiru is well known to him, but in terms of bringing him in to help prepare for Fury, makes a lot of sense. Good technical fighters. Joshua can sort of work on a couple of things that these guys are going to be able to help mimic on Fury's style. And I think there will be another guy who's also been in Joshua's camp before, a third German, Christian Thun. So Thun is 6'9", like Fury, and like Fury, he also is a very good mover, very light on his feet. It's not like for like exactly on the sort of skill set. Thun is still obviously an emerging heavyweight. He's a prospect at the moment, but one of the things that you can't sort of teach, and bring in for a lot of these things is height. And Thun is, got legit height. You can't teach that. He can actually mirror a lot of the things, at least from certain angles and heights that Fury will be sort of punching down from, etc. So I actually think that Thun will be in at some point again, because he's a guy who sparred with Anthony Joshua in the lead up to the Kubrat Pulev fight as well. And even then at that point, I thought, yeah, this is a prelude to an eventual Tyson Fury fight. He's bringing in some of these guys that he knows that he wants to see more of, have more work with, because they're going to help prepare him for that eventual undisputed fight. So I like Odiase and Kadiru being in camp. I think Thun will be back. And you can probably think of half a dozen guys yourself that he may like and probably will look to bring in. And given Joshua has quite a few fighters coming through, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you see, half a dozen, 10 names sort of end up sort of rotating through camp when it eventually does get into full swing whenever an undisputed fight is announced. But what do you make of it all? What do you think of Kadiru, Odiase? Drop a comment. Loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.